A luxury cruise? The words echoed in the sudden silence. My father's voice, dismissive and sharp, cut through the air. You wouldn't have fit in, Ethan. That's what he told me after I found out they'd used my money for a lavish trip. So I canceled every single payment right then and there. Now they're calling nonstop. Honestly, I never pictured myself cutting off my own parents. But it turns out the people meant to love you unconditionally can sometimes inflict the deepest wounds. It all clicked on a perfectly average Wednesday. Just another day, really. I was pulling into my assigned parking spot after a grueling 10-hour shift at the Summit Logistics Distribution Center. My muscles screamed, my hands felt raw, the familiar toll of hard work that left me exhausted but satisfied. Mr. Henderson from across the street was tending his rose bushes. He gave me a friendly wave as I cut the engine. Ethan, good to see you, he called out. Haven't seen your folks around much. Enjoying their trip with your sister, are they? My blood ran cold. My hand froze on the ignition key. What trip? His smile vanished instantly. He shifted awkwardly on his feet. He clearly saw the confusion, the shock on my face. Oh, you know, the Mediterranean one. Your sister Chloe posted some photos on ConnectSphere. Your parents looked like they were having an amazing time in Greece. I mumbled some kind of thanks, though I can't recall the exact words. All I remember is the buzzing in my ears as I stumbled into my quiet apartment, the foundations of my world crumbling around me. Just 4 days earlier, 4 short days, my mother had phoned sobbing. She claimed Pop needed medicine they couldn't possibly afford, that the utility bill was dangerously overdue, that they might not scrape by through the month. And like a fool, I'd sent them $950, more than my usual $700, because they sounded utterly desperate. Now I sat in the dim light of my living room, staring numbly at my phone, scrolling through my banking app. The evidence was stark. Automatic weekly transfers to my parents, every single Friday for the last 18 months. $700 like clockwork. My contribution, I thought, to keep them financially stable. But they weren't struggling. They were sunning themselves in Greece with Chloe, my flawless sister. Chloe, who hadn't worked a real job in her life, married a wealthy guy named David and openly looked down on my blue-collar existence. Yet she was the one showered with praise despite contributing absolutely nothing. My fingers trembled as I logged into ConnectSphere, a platform I rarely used. Too tired from work, too focused on just getting by. And there they were, the pictures. Mother in a flowy dress I'd never seen, Pop sipping a colorful drink, Chloe and David striking poses on the deck of a massive cruise liner. Radiant smiles, pure bliss, all financed by my aching back and calloused hands. I scrolled methodically through the album, screenshotting everything. The timestamps on the photos lined up perfectly with the times they'd claimed they were too unwell to take my calls. Geotags confirmed Greece. Pinpointed expensive restaurants, luxury excursions ashore. The more I looked, the sicker I felt. There was Mother showing off a fancy silver bracelet I didn't recognize. Pop wearing a brand new watch. They'd clearly gone shopping in Athens. That explained the extra $250 they pleaded for. Their emergency medicine fund. The final nail in the coffin was a comment chain beneath a scenic shot. Chloe bragged about David's generosity in treating Mom and Pop to this much-needed vacation. My parents replied with heart emojis, thanking their wonderful children, plural, as if I were part of it, as if I hadn't been intentionally kept in the dark while unknowingly paying for their poolside cocktails. Tears didn't come then, that would happen later. In that moment, there was only a hollow numbness, and simmering beneath it, a feeling that had been building for years. Pure rage. I needed more proof, needed to grasp the full extent of this betrayal. A deeper dive into my bank statements confirmed the timing. My emergency transfer of $950 cleared just hours before their cruise ship departed, labeled clearly with the memo, Pop's Meds. Other transfers popped out too. Regular withdrawals over the past 9 months that corresponded perfectly with pricey dinners, shopping trips, weekend jaunts I knew nothing about. I pulled up my text message history, rereading every frantic plea for assistance, every fabricated story of an empty pantry, every guilt-laden, "We understand if you can't manage it this time," every profuse thank you promising repayment someday. It was all a lie. Calculated, deliberate deception designed to bleed me dry financially while offering zero emotional return. The saga of how I became their personal bank account started simply enough. Pop lost his job, Mother's health seemed fragile, and they needed a hand staying afloat until things improved. I didn't think twice. They were my parents, the ones who raised me, who were supposed to love me. So, I sent money regularly, tightened my own belt, took on extra shifts, everything a devoted son does. But the goalposts never stopped shifting. First, it was temporary until Pop found new work. Then it was just until Mother felt stronger. Then it was just catching up on bills. A new crisis always materialized, always a reason they required more help. Meanwhile, Chloe was the celebrated child, the daughter who made smart choices by marrying David, the intelligent one, the successful one. It didn't matter that I'd built my own life from scratch, held a steady job at Summit Logistics, owned my small condo outright, and even had savings despite supporting them. It didn't matter that I did it all on my own. No, Chloe was the one they boasted about. Chloe got invited to everything. Chloe could do no wrong. I was just the reliable wallet, useful for funding their lifestyle, but apparently not worthy of being part of it. My girlfriend Sarah found me like that, sitting motionless in the dark, phone clutched tightly, knuckles white, staring at those damning vacation photos. Sarah had voiced concerns for months, noticing red flags I'd been too loyal or too naive to acknowledge. It's always some crisis with them, isn't it? She'd questioned gently after my mother's tearful call about the supposedly broken heater last autumn. And funny how it's always right before a long weekend or holiday? Back then, I defended them fiercely, made excuses. They were aging, struggling financially. They wouldn't lie about needing essentials. But Sarah saw the pattern I refused to see. She'd highlighted how they never invited us over, but always had funds for Chloe's family events, how they forgot my birthday, but sent Chloe expensive presents, how their calls were only ever requests for money, never just to see how I was. She had been completely right about all of it. She didn't preach or say, "I told you so." She just sat beside me quietly, looked at the pictures, listened as I recounted my mother's plea for money just 4 days prior. Then she simply held me as the dam finally broke. As years of feeling used, overlooked, and undervalued came pouring out in ragged sobs. Sarah had seen their favoritism, their lack of appreciation, their exploitation. I hadn't wanted to accept it, because what kind of parents treat their child that way? Mine apparently. The confrontation wasn't premeditated. I just woke up the following day, called in sick to Summit Logistics for the first time in 4 years, and found myself driving towards their apartment complex. The drive gave me time to stew, to recall other suspicious incidents I'd previously brushed off. Like the time Mother cried about property taxes they couldn't cover, right before appearing in a ConnectSphere photo wearing a new designer handbag the very next day. Or when Pop claimed their power might be cut off, shortly before I saw him showing off expensive new golf clubs to a neighbor. Each memory stung more sharply than the last. The betrayal wasn't sudden. I was just finally seeing the long-established pattern clearly. I'd been their financial safety net for years, their emergency fund, their unquestioning bank, the dependable son sacrificing his own comfort for theirs. All the while they were enjoying life on my dime, taking cruises, buying luxuries, making me believe they were perpetually on the brink of disaster. Their car was parked outside. Paradise was over. Pop answered the door wearing his robe, surprise quickly replaced by a weary recognition. He knew. He knew I knew. My mother hovered behind him, her smile strained, hands fidgeting nervously. Ethan, what a lovely surprise. We didn't expect you. I just stared at them, these people who shared my DNA but felt like strangers, who had lied, manipulated, and enjoyed a vacation funded by my hard work. How was Greece? The question hung heavy in the hallway. Mother's forced smile crumbled. Pop's expression hardened. You weren't meant to find out about that, he muttered finally. No apology, no embarrassment, just irritation at being caught. Something snapped inside me then, the last shred of filial respect I held. 4 days ago, you called me bawling for medicine money, and then you went on a Mediterranean cruise? Mother had the grace to look ashamed. Pop met my gaze squarely. It wasn't like that. Chloe and David covered the cruise itself. We just needed some spending money. My spending money. My sweat funding their souvenirs and fancy drinks. And you didn't think to invite me? Or at least tell me? Pop let out a short, harsh laugh. The final insult. You wouldn't have fit in, Ethan. It was a luxury cruise. More Chloe and David scene. You'd have felt out of place. Translation, you're not good enough. You're not like precious Chloe. You're just the ATM. I took out my phone, navigated to my banking app. Right there while they watched, I located the recurring transfers and canceled them. Every single one. The shift in their eyes was instant, genuine panic, more real than any affection they'd ever shown me. What are you doing? Mother's voice rose, laced with fear. Kras Gumpikana, cutting the cord. Find yourselves another source. I'm done. Pop immediately switched gears, his voice softening into the placating tone he used when he wanted something. Now, son, let's not be rash. We truly appreciate everything you do. We just assumed you wouldn't want to come. You're always working so hard. Working to fund their lives, their trips I wasn't worthy of joining. Save it. We're finished. I turned and walked away. They trailed me to my car, pleading escalating into promises. They'd invite me next time, be more open, value me more. Empty words, far too late. I drove off, their desperate voices fading behind me. My phone blew up all day. Missed calls stacked up. Texts flooded in, a mix of apologies and classic guilt trips. Textbook manipulation. I blocked their numbers. That evening, my doorbell buzzed. I knew who it was before I even opened it. Chloe, perfectly dressed and coiffed. The golden child dispatched to smooth over the mess the disappointing son had made. Behind her stood our parents, and trailing them, David, looking distinctly uncomfortable. The family united against the dissenter. I almost slammed the door, but Sarah materialized beside me, giving my hand a supportive squeeze. We'd face this together. Chloe launched immediately into her well-rehearsed guilt trip. I was being cruel. Our parents desperately needed me. Family sticks together. You don't realize the harm you're causing, Ethan, she declared, her voice oozing practiced sympathy. Mother's blood pressure is sky high. Pop can't sleep. Do you want to be responsible for putting them in the hospital? She flashed her phone, showing me dramatic texts from our mother. Tearful emojis. Claims they might lose the apartment. Assertions they were surviving on instant noodles. Obvious manipulative lies. They raised you, made sacrifices, Chloe pressed on, her voice gaining volume. Remember when you had pneumonia as a kid and mother sat with you for 3 days straight? Remember Pop working overtime to help buy your first car? How can you be so heartless now? Rich coming from the sister who never contributed a penny to their support, who watched me carry the burden while she lived lavishly. And what about me? She added, playing her final card. I'm your sister. Blood. We're supposed to support each other. You're tearing us apart. Is this the brother I know? The one who always promised to protect me? She even managed to produce a single, perfect tear. A performance that always swayed our parents and anyone else susceptible to her act. I let her finish her monologue, watched our parents nodding eagerly behind her, clearly hoping their favorite child would succeed where they had failed. Finished? My voice was surprisingly calm, level. Chloe blinked, thrown off balance. Ethan, just be reasonable. They're our parents. They raised us. And I've been repaying that debt for years while you contributed nothing but judgment. Chloe's face reddened, the flawless mask cracking. That's unfair. David and I have our own commitments, our lifestyle. Your lifestyle, Sarah interjected sharply, her voice like steel, is not Ethan's problem. And neither are your parents. Chloe whirled on Sarah, spitting insults, calling her manipulative, accusing her of turning me against them. It happened quickly. Sarah grabbing a handful of Chloe's meticulously styled hair, the utter shock on my sister's face as Sarah physically escorted her off our threshold. Pop moved to intervene. I stepped in his path. Mother burst into tears. David just stood there passively as his wife was ejected. The door shut firmly on their stunned, furious faces. The deadbolt slid home, a boundary firmly established. And for the first time in what felt like forever, I breathed freely. The repercussions were immediate. Relatives I barely spoke to started calling, expressing their disappointment, relaying how heartbroken my parents were, how devastated Chloe felt. Flying monkeys doing my parents' bidding. I changed my phone number. They even tried recruiting co-workers at Summit Logistics. I requested a transfer to a different department. 10 days passed, then 3 weeks. My savings account started to grow, freed from the constant drain of supporting people who viewed me solely as a resource. Sarah and I booked a weekend trip. Nothing extravagant, but special. Something utterly impossible while I was bankrolling my parents' charade. The morning we were supposed to leave, my phone buzzed. An unknown number. I hesitated but answered. It was my father. He'd somehow obtained my new number. His voice was different, flat, defeated. The confident manipulator was gone. Apparently, David had discovered Chloe's infidelity, kicked her out, and initiated divorce proceedings, cutting her off financially. She had moved back in with our parents. Now they had both their children under one roof, with zero income from either. They needed money urgently, more than ever, to maintain precious Chloe in the manner she expected. A laugh erupted from somewhere deep inside me, starting as a chuckle and escalating until I was breathless. Let me see if I understand. You lied to me, used my money, excluded me, told me I wasn't good enough, and now you expect me to bail out the daughter you always clearly preferred? His heavy silence was confirmation enough. Goodbye, Pop. Lose this number. I ended the call, blocked him again, grabbed my suitcase, and turned to Sarah. She was watching me, a proud smile on her face. Ready for our vacation? She murmured. I was ready for that, and for everything else life had to offer. Ready for a future unburdened by ungrateful dependence. Ready to finally prioritize my own well-being. Driving away from my apartment building, a profound sense of peace washed over me. Something I hadn't felt in years, maybe ever. That first month of genuine independence was strange. Old habits died hard. I'd jolt awake sometimes, convinced I'd missed a transfer deadline. My thumb would hover over their old contact info, the ingrained urge to check on them almost overpowering. But the moments faded, replaced by a new normal. I started putting money into a retirement fund, planned trips I would actually take, made choices based on my desires, not their latest manufactured emergency. Doubts still surfaced occasionally, echoes of ingrained guilt. My therapist, another expense I could now afford, labeled it the fog, fear, obligation, and guilt. The levers my family expertly pulled for decades. Navigating that fog wasn't easy. Some days I wrestled with their narrative. Was I the villain? The ungrateful child? The selfish sibling? But those days became rarer as the undeniable evidence of their exploitation remained clear. That was 8 months ago. Word filters back occasionally. Chloe's working a retail job. My parents downsized to a smaller place. They lament to anyone listening about their heartless son abandoning them. Let them spin their tales. The people who truly matter know the reality. Sarah and I are engaged, planning a small, intimate wedding, just us and our chosen family, the people who genuinely support and love us. My parents won't receive an invitation. Neither will Chloe. Some might label it vindictive. I call it essential self-preservation. Touch a hot stove enough times and you learn to avoid it. To anyone trapped in a similar dynamic, used by those supposed to cherish you, walking away is okay. Prioritizing your own needs is okay. Refusing to immolate yourself to keep others warm is okay. Family transcends blood. It's built on mutual respect, genuine appreciation, and give and take. I found my true family, the one I chose, the one that chooses me back unconditionally every day. Here's the crux of what I've learned. Love devoid of respect is just manipulation. Financial exploitation isn't confined to romantic partners. It thrives within families too. Often the individuals most adept at triggering your guilt are the ones who installed those buttons initially. I've learned that setting boundaries isn't selfish, it's survival. That helping others should never mean bankrupting yourself emotionally or financially. That authentic love nourishes you, it doesn't drain you. Most crucially, I've learned that walking away isn't failure. Sometimes it signifies finally valuing yourself enough to demand better treatment. It took years to internalize that I wasn't liable for adults shirking their own responsibilities, that their perpetual lack of planning wasn't my emergency to fix, that being a good son didn't equate to being a doormat. If you're ensnared in this cycle, please know escape is achievable. The guilt eventually lessens, the manipulation loses its grip, and on the other side of that hard-won boundary lies a life that is truly yours. And honestly, I've never been happier.